At some point it will talk about, it'll give a time frame for the prophet.
In fact, recent research indicates that Jewish mysticism
The prophetic books
already has its beginnings at this period of time.
It's often not necessarily quite this specific on the date.
No. In truth, the deepest knowledge of God is to know everything that God is. You work on knowing what it is, knowing what it is.
So you can describe it like negative terminology.
Why do we use the concept of light? Light refers to God's revelation. God's revelation. We use it in, obviously, the metaphor. Light cannot exist if there's no source. A prophet had to say what he saw. There's no source. The sun is shining. You see sunlight. There's a sun.
So this is what God wanted
him to see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And you see, walk through the room and there's light. You know, there is a luminary in the room. There's something that is shining in that room. Light refers to God's revelation. So the same way that light reveals a source, godliness reveals God. Godliness reveals God as God. Godliness reveals God as God. So the same way that light reveals a source, godliness reveals God. That light reveals source. Godliness reveals God as God. Reveals God. That light reveals God. That light reveals God.
The prophetic books. The tradition of receiving revelation by a river.
But the way in which we do history, we can't impose upon ancient material as if they had similar ideas about history as we do.
And I looked, and behold, a stormy wind came out of the north.
Sometimes evil comes from the north.
Is the great cloud what encompasses the entire vision, or?
It seems to be, yes. The north, if you're facing east, is to the left.
Oh,
So,
okay.
of course, the left is negative in Kabbalah. Like the temple in Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies was actually I think it was a perfect cube.
4 faces and the 4 ways.
The idea of the 4 directions. 4 directions. A number of completeness.
4 cherubim and the 4 faces.
Intelligence for the human face. 4 directions. Strength for the ox. As I looked, there was a figure that had the appearance of fire. From what appeared as his loins down, he was fire, and from his loins up, his appearance was resplendent. The lion becomes associated with
4 faces and 4
rulership, royalty for the lion. A number of completeness. This way you're looking on every side. You see in every direction.
4 wings.
And
4
mobility
wings.
for the eagle. Ability for the eagle. Have the firmament, and above it the throne.
Above the expanse that was upon their heads was like the appearance of a sapphire stone.
And they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there was the likeness of a pavement of sapphire, like the very sky for purity, in appearance like sapphire.
Lapis lazuli.
Sapphire is associated with divinity and with royalty, and probably with the sky. And if they have wings, why would you need wheels? Now, if you have wheels cutting through each other, you can't go anywhere. And in a dream, things don't have to work exactly, totally rationally.
And almost certainly the audience is highly educated, very knowledgeable about the Hebrew Bible, highly educated about the Hebrew Bible.
The feet of each were like a single calf's hoof. When the ark was being transported before the temple was built, it would be put onto a cart that had oxen leading it. Sorts of different categories of angels, and then the Ophanim are one, and Ophan means wheel.
It's difficult for us to appreciate because of the way in which we're bombarded with so much information. It's difficult for us to realize that in this instance these ancients would know a body of material so intimately that they would be able to pick up all sorts of illusions that might be beyond any modern audience. They had such a feel for it that you could make subtle illusions and they would be readily picked up. This extremely skillful way in which he uses stories to convey ideas.
I mean, it shed its just its corporal experience.
The prophet has an idea, and it comes out in images, and it's hard to pin it down to like a theological construction. If you have a ladder in your house, you can go up and down whenever you want. The prophet has an idea or concept, and it comes out in images.
The man on top of the throne is a level of divine revelation.
If you have a ladder in your house, it's the ladder that the angels went up and down on. So you can go up and down whenever you want. And you eventually get through all these different levels of hello.
There are different levels of consciousness,
Different angels.
levels of reality.
Finally, you are resting in the lap of God.
The higher you go means the closer you go to God, the farther back you go to the original. It's a process. First this, then that. Ascend would be to go from the fourth to the third. The more you get into their world, the more you can relate to them.
This is the problem of the literal and the metaphorical, how easy it is to mix the two up.
The more you speak their language, the more you know how they use words.
And I suppose a good illustration is the literary critic Empson was teaching in China, I think it was, and he would give students English idioms and he wanted to have them translated into other English words. And an idiom he gave was out of sight, out of mind. And one student translated it as invisible, insane. And what's so interesting about that, of course, is if you say you're out of your mind, we do indeed mean you're a bit crazy. But if you say out of sight, out of mind, it simply means because the person or thing is not in view, that you're simply not paying it any attention. Very subtle difference, but enormous difference in meaning. So it's an interesting phenomenon.
If your radio can pick up sound waves that your ears can't. Likewise, your TV can pick up, your antenna can pick up things your eyes can. Because it operates at a different wavelength. So what it takes to be a prophet is to get into God's wavelength. Godliness reveals God. Godliness reveals God. Godliness reveals God. Godliness reveals God. Reveals God. Reveals God.